The airplane cabin was calm at 35,000 feet, a hushed tranquility where passengers sank into novels, the soft thrum of headphones, and gentle blankets. But that calm shattered in seconds when Charlotte Hayes, the elegant wife of a tech mogul, suddenly slumped forward in her seat. Her delicate necklace, a whisper of gold, caught a faint cabin light just as her eyes shuddered and her head tilted in a frightening stillness.
Gasps erupted, sharp as breaking glass. A businessman cried out for help, and the air turned thick with a rising panic. It was a moment where time seemed to freeze, where every heartbeat sounded like thunder, and where no one seemed to know what to do.
Charlotte Hayes wasn't just another passenger. She was the wife of David Hayes, one of the world's most influential titans of industry, who had been seated just a row behind her. David's hands clutched his head in horror as he shouted for a doctor, his voice trembling in a way no one had ever seen from the man known for his ruthless composure in boardrooms. Flight attendants rushed forward, but their training manual seemed to blur under the crushing pressure of the moment. They searched for medical help among the passengers, but no one responded. People whispered. Some shrank back, terrified. In the midst of this chaos, a boy in a practical blue uniform, seated awkwardly near the back of the cabin, stood up. His name was Daniel Miller, a 17-year-old working part-time as a janitor at Boston Logan International Airport. He wasn't supposed to be on this flight. A scheduling error had accidentally upgraded him to a standby passenger after his shift cleaning the very plane he now sat on. He had been heading home to visit his ailing mother in rural Texas. His ticket, a gift from a sympathetic supervisor, was precious. He had no wealth, no influence, and certainly no medical degree. Yet something inside him, a silent command, refused to let him stay seated while a life was slipping away in front of him. Daniel pushed through the narrow aisle, his heart thrumming like a wild drumbeat against his ribs. People stared. Some muttered. Others shook their heads, a silent chorus of, "Who was this boy to think he could help?" But Daniel had seen things others hadn't. His mother had lived with a heart condition for years, and he had spent countless nights by her side when she collapsed, learning from paramedics and local nurses what to do in moments of crisis. Before we dive into this story, if you believe in the quiet power of human kindness, and if you believe true courage shines brightest in moments of crisis, if you believe that status means nothing when a life is on the line, then please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Third Person View. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that true heroism often comes from the most humble hearts. Your support helps us spread stories that inspire the world. He knelt beside Charlotte, noticing her shallow breathing and the alarming pallor on her face. The flight attendant stepped back, unsure whether to intervene, but David's desperate eyes, mirroring the abyss, met Daniel's, silently pleading for intervention. The boy placed his hands over Charlotte's chest and began chest compressions, steady and focused, just as he had practiced on training dummies in free community classes in his hometown. Every push was a prayer. Every breath he gave her a silent promise that she would not be left alone. The cabin went silent, except for the rhythmic whoosh of his effort, the soft beeping of the oxygen machine being prepared, and the ragged, muffled sobs of David behind him. Minutes felt like hours, each one stretching into an unbearable eternity. Some passengers whispered that it was hopeless. Others closed their eyes in silent prayer, but Daniel never faltered. Sweat poured down his forehead. His arms ached with a deep, burning protest, but he pressed on, his youthful determination
shining brighter than any diamond Charlotte wore. Finally, after what felt like an eon, Charlotte gasped. A shallow, impossibly fragile breath, yet a breath pregnant with life nonetheless. Her chest rose weakly, and her eyes fluttered open just enough to signal a flicker of consciousness. A collective gasp swept the cabin, and then relief spread like wildfire, a wave of warmth washing over the icy panic.
David Hayes, the titan who commanded skyscrapers and defined empires, finally buckled, collapsing into profound, silent tears as he leaned forward to grip his wife's trembling hand.
Flight attendants quickly secured oxygen masks. Passengers erupted in applause, and Daniel sat back against the aisle wall, exhausted, tears stinging his eyes, not from weakness, but from the overwhelming, almost spiritual realization of what had just happened. But what moved people the most wasn't just that Charlotte survived. It was who had saved her. The contrast was staggering. The billionaire's wife, draped in wealth and prestige, had her life pulled back from the edge, not by a doctor, not by another billionaire, but by a teenage janitor in a modest uniform, who had been invisible to most of the world just hours ago. It was a moment that stripped away the illusions of class and status, revealing the raw truth that compassion knows no boundaries and emanates from the deepest human well. As the flight prepared for an emergency landing in Philadelphia, David sat beside Daniel. For the first time, the billionaire saw not simply a boy, but a hero. David's gratitude was a wordless entity. His teary nod and a trembling hand on Daniel's shoulder spoke volumes, a language more profound than any articulate thanks. In those quiet minutes before landing, Daniel thought of his mother, of the night she had told him he was stronger than he believed, and he felt for the first time that her words were undeniably true. When the plane landed, paramedics rushed Charlotte to a Philadelphia hospital where she stabilized further. News of the event rocketed through the media. Headlines, stark and unyielding, screamed, "Teenage janitor saves billionaire's wife aboard transatlantic flight." Interviews flooded in. Reporters hounded Daniel, but through it all, he remained humble. He didn't see himself as a hero. He had only done what his heart told him to do. David, however, would never forget. The man who had once believed money could solve anything learned that sometimes salvation comes from the unlikeliest of places, a testament to the unexpected paths of grace. In the weeks that followed, he visited Daniel and his mother in rural Texas, offering not just financial help, but genuine friendship, bridging worlds that once seemed insurmountable. Charlotte, still weak yet blossoming with recovery, held Daniel's hand during a press conference, her voice a whispered revelation as she called him her guardian angel in plain sight. The story of Daniel Miller became more than news. It became a symbol of humanity's quiet strength, a reminder that heroes don't always wear uniforms of authority. Sometimes they wear the plain clothes of those society overlooks, the silent guardians among us. On that ordinary flight, in that extraordinary moment, a boy no one expected rose to save a life, and in doing so, saved much more than that. He saved hope, faith, and the belief that kindness in its purest form can change everything. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that true heroes walk among us, often in the most unassuming roles, and that kindness transcends all social barriers, it powerfully illustrates that nobility of spirit matters far more than any earthly title or fortune. Please like this video, subscribe to Third Person View, and share it with someone who believes in the power of empathy and the boundless potential of the human spirit.
Your support helps us continue sharing stories that matter. Before we close, I want to ask you, what do you believe is the single most important quality that defines a true hero? Wealth, education, or the courage to act when no one else will? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read them all.